Hello and welcome to the Neo News Today podcast. I am your host, Dylan of the Neo News Today pod. On episode 27, we had a chance to sit down and chat with Neo Global Development Shanghai's Songping Que. Songping is a community operations specialist for the NGD Shanghai marketing department and has been with the team since 2018. We at Neo News Today wanted to have this podcast with Songping so we could talk about the elephant in the room, the coronavirus epidemic and its impact on Neo. First and foremost, Songping and all the other folks at NGD Shanghai are in good health and in good spirits. Further, once or twice in this conversation, Songping actually noted that Neo 3 development has continued to move forward despite the setbacks in working from home and across the globe. In today's conversation, we discuss the impacts of the coronavirus on NGD Shanghai's day-to-day operations and what the team's experiences were like working from home at the onset of the epidemic. We talk about how NGD has shifted more towards online communication and its focus on future events such as an upcoming quiz campaign and video-based Neo Lives. We talk about NGD's perspective of the response of various developer communities from across the globe and how generally the work across these various communities hasn't been drastically impacted, at least from Neo Global Development's perspective. We talk about why Songping believes the blockchain industry is poised to continue building during these coronavirus quarantines, Neo's goals to expand outreach into different languages, and lastly, we touched upon the current outlook on Neo DevCon 3 and its potential to be held in the second half of 2020. And if not, how it might become a virtual conference if we're still dealing with quarantines as a result from the epidemic later this year. So I hope you all enjoy listening to this conversation with Songping as much as I enjoyed having it. Hey guys, welcome to the Neo News Today podcast. Today we're speaking with Songping Que, a community operations specialist for Neo Global Development, who has been with the team since 2018. And something that's at the forefront of everyone's mind these days is the coronavirus pandemic. I remember in February, it became an issue after the Chinese New Year, but then it's become a global issue in the past month. So I just kind of wanted to have a conversation with you to just kind of hear what the impact has been like at Neo. So first, how are you and your friends and all the family of Neo doing right now?
Hello, everyone. Songping here. Greeting from Shanghai. We're doing good. I think this whole coronavirus things caught us out of blue, and things changed so fast in the past months. And have to say, like currently, everyone with Neo NGD Shanghai office, we're totally fine, and it's okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's good to hear. So I think this is the first time that we've had you on the podcast. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about who you are and what your role at Neo is.
Sure. Like you said, I was with Neo starting from end of 2018. So it's over like 1 year now. I'm in the marketing team and responsible for like international events and also online communities, the development of online communities. So you're probably gonna, come across if you come to like Consensus or Block Show or the other like international blockchain events. When you're there, I'd probably be there as well.
Cool. So I guess kind of like taking this to a little bit more of a somber tone, how has the effects of the coronavirus had an impact on the day-to-day operations of you and the Neo team?
Yes, for sure. Actually, like when this thing kind of began, it's end of January, and it would happen to be the Chinese New Year here, and so all of a sudden, like we start hearing all those different news, and things are getting serious. So our national New Year holiday actually got extended for 1 week. Kind of the city government just advised like the companies to start to delay the resume of the work. And NGD Shanghai actually took another like 1 week to let us work from home. So actually the like official work here resumed starting from I think February 10th. So we started getting back to the office and normal work. But back then we were required to wear facial masks like all the time, except when you're like drinking waters or eating. And every time when we entering the office building, we were requested to test the temperature. If you are like the body temperature go beyond, I think it's 37.2 degree, you are not allowed to work for that day. You need to go home. And I think it's basically okay. Like even though it's not so convenient, but people start still like working and making phone calls and doing like internet chatting. Even though like we're not encouraged to have like physical meetings with like visitors or like staff outside the company. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Neo's a global blockchain project, but there's a large team that works at the office in Shanghai.
That's true. We have around like 50 people. So like we actually share a big like space, like one office office space. So, but we tried really hard to keep like at least 1 meter distance away from each other, and kind of work lonely and chatting on the like WeChat or Telegram. Like we're trying to keep the social distance for the beginning couple months.
So there have been some changes in sort of like how you speak to people in person, and there's a little bit more monitoring when you go into the office, and maybe you're not meeting with local projects as much. So how long is NGD prepared to work like this with more people working from home and less in-person meetings? And are you starting to see the work life begin to return to normal in Shanghai?
We actually keep this like how to say no more in external meeting style for I think like 3 to 4 months. But recently, actually, like the overall situation, at least here in Shanghai, is getting stable and lower like increase like lower infection numbers. So you can feel like we're getting the normal life back like day by day. I took metro station for the like commute or like work commute. I can feel it very obvious. Like each week you got the metro cab is getting like more crowded. Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear, I mean, so China saw the beginning of this virus first, and then other parts of Europe got hit really hard, and now we're starting to see this in America and other parts of the world where they're taking quarantining a little bit more serious. So this is definitely a global issue now, and people are feeling it at a global level. So from Neo's perspective, what has been the community response from the various different developer communities across the world? And how has NGD maybe offered some support?
I think since like it hits China like in the early age, and later on like after 3 to 4 weeks, like it happens in different area like outside China. And how to say, it feel very like we were there like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Like horrible news every day and kind of concern about the penetration of the medical system, and those doctors and nurses are fighting. Like we have been heard about all those news, but it will eventually like stabilize. Things will under control. So definitely have the faith for like conquer this and get this through. And for the project and like operation wise, I think since NEO is a global project and like blockchain internet based, actually the quarantine or isolation things doesn't really have a like real impact on our work, I think. So the Neo 3 like development are still in a very stable and a normal pace. Like developers are working on like the coding as always. And for the marketing wise, we do like especially the conference offline events, this got like relative big impact. For example, multiple like blockchain week, the Paris blockchain week got like got postponed, and also the consensus they decided to like change it to a virtual one. And of course, the DevCon, like the Neo DevCon, which was supposed to happen at Q2, was also postponed to the next half year. But what we are trying to do is like, even though we can't have the offline events, but we kind of change it into online and more like webinars or like online educational programs were in design, or either like we're planning more and more like online events.
Cool. I know that like Gil from Neo3j, he works in an office. So I'm wondering if you've heard any some of the community developer groups like state that they're having issues because they have to work from home now, or is that not a thing that you're really hearing from separate teams?
I do like we have like a WeChat group where like most of the like developer community leaders were there, and people were talking about like sharing the information like very like heated, but it's not about like the real like challenges or problems imposed on their work. It's more about like sharing like the we just hope everyone's okay, like healthily. And I think overall like it's okay. It's not like have impact on the development itself.
That's awesome to hear. So I'm curious to hear maybe a little bit more about how the recent coronavirus epidemic has maybe impacted some of the longer term decisions that Neo's making. I know that you just touched upon Neo 3 continuing its development, but a lot of your work is outward facing. So you mentioned that consensus is being delayed, DevCon is being delayed. So what are some other like longer term decisions that are being impacted right now?
I think for the like overall like planning, it's okay. Like I just mentioned, like Neo 3 is still in a very good pace. So we just probably will change the communication channel. Like before, probably it's a physical like meeting, but now it's virtual, or we're doing more online stuff. But it doesn't change the nature. So things will happen as it's supposed to. And also like it's like the plan of like the Neo 3, we were still, like I said, it's gonna happen this year. But like the more detailed like schedules, I think we're gonna release later.
So it seems like, at least from even what the president of the U.S. is saying, it seems like a lot of physical events are going to be off the table until at least August of this year. And you mentioned a shift to some virtual events. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about any ideas that you have for future virtual events. I noticed that Neo Live has started to do more video based. So are there any new kind of concepts or plans for other types of online or virtual events for the community?
I think like we have a couple events in the pipeline, such as the like community quiz contest, which we were still talking with couple partners, and we're gonna like with the launch of like kind of doing preparation for the Neo 3. We want to kind of commute the knowledge base, like want to share or you can't like accept like all those because it's gonna be a big change. Like it's the Neo 3 is a whole set upgrade and with multiple like components. So we probably will kind of convey the messages steps by step by like embedded part like those knowledges into the quiz contest. That's one thing we are preparing. Cool. The other is the Neo Life. Like you said, we've been tried 2 episodes, which is like webinar based, and we will it's more like educational or like tutorial wise. We want to invite like core members from NGD or like eco project leaders, and also like blockchain industry experts to share their like unique insights and bring more like knowledge to the community. And as I know, like there's another one, it's called Neo Talk, but currently it's only available in Chinese. It will go like deep with the technology sharing. So we will like develop it in like more language base later. And also like there's one more change, which is the monthly reports. Currently, we have like English and Chinese, Korean and Vietnam version. We are intended to develop more like versions in multiple different languages.
Very cool. When you were describing some of the new processes that Neo is going to take up, you also mentioned other blockchain projects. So I'm curious to hear maybe a little bit of your insight with communication you've had with other projects, and maybe some of the similarities or the new unique differences that Neo and other blockchain projects might be experiencing right now. What do those conversations look like?
Would you mind specify your question a little bit?
Yeah. Just based off of speaking with other blockchain projects, are there sort of similar issues or new barriers that Neo and other projects are seeing right now?
I think like for the events, that's kind of like one common challenges. And like you mentioned, there's more and more like online events available, like not only by like Neo has prepared some, and I know like Ethereum and like Nervous, they're also launched like more online version of events. And there's one phenomenon here, it's quite interesting. Like as WeChat, it's quite popular in Chinese community, and you can see like it's either organized by the projects or by like blockchain media outlets, like probably 3 or 4 live like chats it's available on WeChat.
Lots more online communication.
Exactly.
Have there been any operational changes that you and your team have been forced into that might have actually led to increased productivity or collaboration?
I think, as mentioned during right after the Chinese New Year, there's 1 week we were kind of forced to work from home. And it's also a very interesting actually working experience, because when people are in one physical like space, you talk a lot. But when you work remotely, you actually talk more. And I think it's also very interesting, like to how to say, kind of the this work from home of experience to encourage us to think more about how to improve the efficiency and improve the effectiveness of communication.
Very cool. We kind of touched upon this, but I want to bring up Neo DevCon. It was supposed to take place in Q2 this year, but now we kind of have an undefined timeline for when we can start having public events again. So can you share any current thoughts about DevCon 3 being held in 2020?
I think like the overall, how to say, the programming is there. Like we know what we want to talk about. Neo 3 plays a big role of it, and also like the overall strategic planning for like where Neo goes. The smart economy is always our like ultimate goal, but how to realize this step by step, we want to kind of like clear and communicate with the whole group. DevCon is definitely like the main platform, and that's quite like when we talk about the planning, the event planning is quite interesting. At beginning, we were concerned about the travel ban. Like for Chinese, it's gonna be difficult for us to get travel to Europe. And then later on, we were concerned like, since the coronavirus is also like, how to say, get wider impact on a global scale. Like it's not only about the travel ban. So I think considering about the overall situation now, it's difficult to really say like when we can have these physical events. But like what I want to say is like things are get done anyway, and I think it will happen eventually.
Yeah. Well, it's
if
been
like if like by the we're like shooting for like end of Q3 and the beginning of Q4. If by then like things are not getting better, probably we turn it into a virtual conference. It's difficult to say now, but I mean, we will get the message out for sure.
Yeah, it's still even though it's uncertain right now, it's still refreshing to hear that you guys are thinking of various different ways to engage the community once Neo 3 is ready. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to just share with us a little bit about your experience in the past couple months and kind of during these trying times. I think all across the world, everybody is kind of figuring out what they need to do now, but I know that the community is going to be really happy to have heard from a Neo representative. So I'm wondering if there's anything you want to mention before we let you go.
Thank you for having me today, and also like for the audience, like Neo communities who's like listening to this podcast. I just want to say like everything gonna be fine, and it's gonna how do you say we're working and we work this through.
Awesome. It's awesome to hear, and just want to thank you so much for coming on the Neo News Today podcast today.
Thank you.
Well, what did you think of that interview? I am very much looking forward to the upcoming community quiz contest surrounding Neo 3 and its development. I was also very excited to hear Songping mention that Neo 3 development is still ongoing and moving forward. While there are many reasons to be dismayed and disheartened about the limitations and other negative effects the world is facing right now during the current global pandemic, it was nice to hear that NGD is still planning to move forward with Neo's third DevCon, even if it means we will all have to get together online. To keep up to date with the latest in the Neo ecosystem, please visit www.neonewstoday.com. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channels on YouTube Apple iTunes, and or Spotify, and leave a 5-star review if you feel others should listen to our content. Every subscription and review helps others learn about the Neo News Today podcast, Neo News Today, and the Neo ecosystem in general. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to episode 27 of the Neo News Today podcast, and we look forward to catching you next time.